Hi, my friends, and welcome into today's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you are here. I'm Taylor, and today's show, where I'm talking with Kathryn Whitaker, and we have what I think is maybe my favorite episode with Kathryn that we've had so far. She's been one of our rotating co-hosts for the last, I think, 6-ish months. Yeah, right around the beginning of the year. And this is one of our favorite episodes. We talk about working out. We talk about health. We talk about family. We talk about parenting, especially as she is helping her third child move off into college. We talk about that point in parenting that I haven't gotten to yet, and that may have some worries about. Bringing your kids to a place and dropping them off and not coming back for a while. So, if you are in that stage of life, this is going to be a great episode for you. If you're like me and you're not quite there yet, this is still a great episode for me because Kathryn has a lot of. She shares from a place of experience, and she shares a lot of her wisdom about parenting both little kids all the way up to her kids that are in college now. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. If you do, please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Enjoy. What's up? Welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll. That is Kathryn Whitaker. Kathryn, hello.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm almost a summer Kathryn, my favorite Kathryn of the year.
I mean, if you like yourself for 3 months out of the year, that's progress. That's great in comparison to most people on this show.
Well, I say summer Kathryn because she's not nearly as demanding as like school year Kathryn. At least my kids will tell you that. So yeah, like a little bit slower pace. We're definitely not getting up as early, and I have let a lot of things slide at the house. So late Kathryn is my most favorite Kathryn, but summer Kathryn's not bad. I know there's there's a distinction, but late Kathryn's loads of fun, but you'll never get to meet her because she doesn't use social media. So
Oh, it sounds like we need to go on a lake trip so I can get to know this person.
she's a lot of fun, actually.
I mostly know work Kathryn. I know a little bit of friend Kathryn, but mostly work Kathryn. And I think work Kathryn might be the furthest from lake Kathryn.
Light years away. I don't even know that work Kathryn and late Kathryn could even be friends. I don't
Oh,
think so. Well, she's way too laid back. Work Kathryn would be like, "What are you doing? Get it together."
well, I think I could be friends with both. And we're going to have to test this out by doing a family lake trip together. I mean, it's working out. I mean, like, I feel like I've spent so much time with, but it's very funny. I like to imagine what goes on in the Whitaker house because it seems like the more I interact with you, the more your husband interacts with me on Instagram. Like, if you and I haven't talked in like a week or two, like, I get nothing from Scott. But if you and I have talked recently, whether we're doing something for my show or your show or whatever, he'll like start laughing, like doing like the laugh reaction to like my Instagram stories and stuff. And I'm like, oh, so
Yeah, there he is.
like it's one of those things where I'm like, it's such a strange phenomenon that I'm like, they have to talk about me because I feel like the only time he reacts is when I get brought up at some point that week by work Kathryn, at home.
Or it could be the algorithm. And when my phone starts hearing what I'm saying, his phone starts eavesdropping, and then you start showing up in his algorithm.
Okay, so I suggested friendship. You said not a chance. It must be the internet stalking us. I get it.
That's not what I said.
That was
not what I said.
That was work Kathryn. That late Kathryn would not have been that mean when I suggested maybe we're friends.
Late Kathryn would have poured you a margarita. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Well, hello, Scott. So, you said you're doing okay. I am also doing just okay. I tossed and turned last night. We're recording this, like, this is midday for most people. This is early morning for me. I woke up within an hour ago. But it's one of those things that it was like, because I tossed and turned till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I have no idea why. Like, I'm not stressed. I worked out yesterday, which typically means that I sleep better. And I just tossed and turned to where, like, I felt like I was doing like an ab workout. Like I was like left side, right side, left side, right side, left side, right side. And I just got like no sleep at all. But then somewhere around 3 or 4, I was out like a light. And then when my alarm went off to wake up so that my face could be awake for this, which is a joke because when's my face
So
going to
your
be awake?
face could be awake. That's hilarious.
It takes like a good hour for my face to wake up after my body does. It's like, no, face is still asleep, you know? So it's like my body is work Taylor, but my face is sleep Taylor.
See you later, Taylor.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. You know what? You're right. It does take a hot minute for me to wake up from about here up. Like, yeah, I don't usually record things whenever I haven't been up for a little bit, but I've been up since 5:25, so in the
That's
morning.
about when I fell asleep. Why did you wake up so early? You said that summer Kathryn sleeps in, and then you said 4 minutes later that you woke up at 5:25. Like
Well,
ungodly hour.
she normally during the school year, I get up at 5:25 to work out, but on Tuesday mornings, it's my favorite class because it's the hardest one, but I feel the best after I do it with one of my favorite instructors. So I get up on Tuesday mornings so that I can basically go lift weights and sweat it all out. So
Yeah, that is work, Kathryn. Late Kathryn has nothing to do with today.
no, let Catherine be like, what are you even doing with your life right now? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
As she takes another drink of her margarita. Yeah. So, but I needed the kids are in vacation Bible school this week. And so I have this window of time where I can get things done without people questioning my intentions. And so it's really helpful to have it all together so that when I drop them off that I can come back and get some things done.
How
So
often do your kids question your intentions?
all the time. Why are you throwing that away? Don't you know how much that means to me? That's important. Why are you doing that? Like so many questions. And I'm like, can everyone just why do we have to clean today? As opposed to any other day, like, "Why not today?" And they're like, "But why today?" I'm like, "Because y'all are living in filth upstairs." I went upstairs and almost had to take a Valium. I'm like, "What has happened? Did someone invite their frat brothers over and everyone just had a keg party up here? Like, it looks trashed." And I'm like, "I can't." So I've only been upstairs twice this summer, and I went upstairs last night, and that's when that's when I broke. And I'm like, "Nope, this is the week that we're getting things done." So
I
Work
mean,
Catherine is definitely here. I gotta get some
yeah, I,
things
I
done.
went from like when you said you were just doing okay, like I was a little sad for you because no one like no like I appreciate it because no one's that honest, right? Everybody's like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "My world's falling apart." I'm like, "Good, I'm good. How are you?" You know, but you're being honest. But it's pretty funny how you were like, now that we've talked about it for a little while, you were like, I'm so close to summer Kathryn. I'm so close to late Kathryn. But then you're right back to like, this show is a cancer. You were like, now I'm just complaining and everything sucks. You were so close to not being work Kathryn. And I brought the work Kathryn back. And I don't know if I should be proud or sad, but I hold some kind of power.
Well, for the next hour you do, and then after that, I'll go be back to because what happens is Work Catherine how did we start talking in the third person? But the person
I
of me
I think it's very funny. People like I literally just had somebody yell at me for like posting in the third person cuz like typically when I post a video like clips of this show or whatever, right? It's like Taylor says this and Kathryn responds with this or whatever, right? So it's written in the third person cuz which primarily goes on YouTube, and then it primarily comes from like the Forte Catholic account, like on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever. But every now and then, like last week when Alice, or 2 weeks ago, when Allison decided that she wanted to talk about nude beaches, I'm not putting that on the
weird.
Forte Catholic account. I'm not putting that on the Taylor Schroll account. But then I don't have the wherewithal to change the verbiage. So I'm like on Taylor Schroll's account. I'm like, Allison says something that shocks Taylor. People are like, oh, why are you in third person? I'm like, leave me alone. Like, I already spent an hour and a half making this. I'm not going to change
Also,
it again.
if someone is complaining about you speaking in the third person, they maybe need to check themselves. Like, really, that's the thing that you're gonna worry about all the things in the world, and we're gonna worry about that.
Yeah, take
Anyways,
that out of and I'm just catching strays. Allison shares her craziest take of all time, yet I'm the one getting yelled at. What is happening?
well, let's for a moment, let's talk about that because when she posted that, I was like, "Allison, that is the worst idea
She's
ever."
I'm like, you do realize that like people can see stuff you post on the internet, right? Like I was shocked. She has over 1 million followers on TikTok, and yet still she didn't put that on TikTok. She's smart enough not
No,
to
she
do
did not do
that. She
No,
put it
she
on
did
Twitter
not.
where she has 9 followers, and then here, completely out of the blue. So it's interesting. You mentioned working out and a hard workout.
Yes.
So I know that you work out because like I see it on your Instagram stories, and it's now starting to make sense that like some days you look like normal, like a normal person looks after a normal workout, right? But then there are other days where you look absolutely destroyed, and it's just now clicking that that might be your Tuesday Instagram stories. So
Yeah.
I know that you work out, but I did not know that there was some kind of routine with some ebb and flow. So like what does a
Yeah.
normal day look like, and then what does Tuesday morning look like?
So it's a thing called Pure Barre, and so there's different workouts. So one is what we call like classic, and it's probably like a combination of like Pilates, yoga, and then small like isometric movements. So it's like you basically work one muscle group to fatigue, and then you move to the next muscle group, and then you stretch it, whatever. So then we have another class called the line, which is really more like heart balance and strength, and then the last half is stretching, and it's the most amazing class. I love that class. And then we have one that's more cardio focused, but the one that I do on Tuesday mornings we call Define. So it's a lot of weight work. So like anywhere from 8 to 20 pound weights. And it's hard. I mean, it almost takes all the classes and like shoves them into one. And you basically 55 minutes. It's intense. But it's not the kind of workout that like when I finish, I'm like, I'm destroyed. It's the kind of workout that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that my body just did that. Like especially as we start to age, like I'm in my late 40s and the body doesn't work the same way that it used to, but I will say that I'm in better shape now than I was 15 years ago, 20, hell, maybe my whole life.
Yeah, I hear not being pregnant all the time helps.
Yeah.
I've just heard that somewhere.
And it definitely gives you some more time. I'll say
Yeah.
that. Like when people are hanging on you and peeing on you and all these physical demands, I applaud
That's a
women
weird
that can
gym, Kathryn. No one's ever
I
done that to me at the gym.
Tell me about it. I participated in it for many years. I just could not get out of the gym. But I don't know how moms, I do. I think it's impressive because when I had 10 minutes, people were like, oh, just a 10-minute workout. And I'm like, if I have 10 minutes, I'm laying my butt on the couch and taking a nap because my constituents are absolutely demanding. Like they complain all the time.
Constituents.
They complain all the time. Scott would come home and I would say, like, I got a terrible performance review today. And he's like, what? And they were like, they hated what I cooked. They didn't like what I did, but yet they're still demanding that I love them. So it was hard when they were little. So now that they're bigger, I feel like maybe I don't feel as guilty. I shouldn't have felt guilty even back then, but I think I did feel guilty. And now I don't feel guilty about taking care of myself because I really want to be around for a long time, and I have to do what I have to do in order to make that happen. So Tuesdays are hard.
Your week looks a lot working out wise looks a lot better than mine, which I mean, I don't think that surprises anybody. But I have a binge personality, so like it's very hard for me to have a balanced day, just period. Like it's very hard for me to like even yesterday, good example. I finished what work I needed to do by about 4:30. Did I stop working and then therefore take, spend time with my family, and then maybe they go to sleep and I play some video games or watch TV and have a nice balanced day where no, that's not what I did. I finished all my work at 4:30 and then I was like, I'm finally catching up. I can get ahead now. So I worked till like 7:30, like another 3 hours. That was just unnecessary. And I got so far ahead. It's unbelievable. But my binge personality, so like I binge on work, and then I will binge on like watching TV, like to the neglect of work, and then I will binge on like maybe some days I'm like, oh, I haven't seen my family in a while, so I'll binge on like hanging out with them, which sounds weird, but it is kind of what it is, like to the detriment of other areas of my. It's just really hard for me to find balance. So that's what I do with my physical well-being as well. I typically like don't move. I have a very sedentary life because I sit at that computer and edit all day every day. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like maybe I'll walk like 3,000 to 5,000 steps, just like in a normal day, right? Unless I like specifically go on a walk. And then Monday night, for the last few months, I've been going to play basketball. And like my mind still thinks that I'm in the shape that I was in 12 years ago. My body is like, wait a second, right? So it's taken me a couple months. I'm finally starting to get back into like at least shape enough where I can like finish the evening, like without having to like take breaks, but we're playing pickup basketball at the school, and I played last night. So like there's been some argument over whose watch is correct, because everybody but me. I don't like having things on my wrist, but everybody else has like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or something, right? So there's argument between it, but if we're playing for like 2.5 hours straight, which is a lot. So we're running about 5,000 to 8,000 steps a night. We're running about 3 to 5 miles a night, and burning. This is where the real argument comes in. Some people's watches say we're burning like 750 calories. Other people say we're burning like 2,250, which is like, that would be great. That'd be a whole day of eating for me, just God. So I've been binging that, and I really like it. But every time I like go to warm up, in Forrest Gump, whenever he starts running and he has like the clamp things on his legs or whatever, like the braces or whatever. Then he starts running, and then it takes a little while for him to fall up.
Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't look very comfortable.
Like braces, yeah.
There you go. But he starts running, and it takes a little while, and then they start to fall off, and he starts to run like in like a normal running form. That's my body on Monday night. Like we started playing like 8:15. I have to get there at 7:45 just to start warming up and moving, because my legs are like, what are we doing? Like my joints are like, we haven't moved this direction in a while. My muscles are like, wait a second, we haven't been used in a while. What's going on here? So my body is very confused by what my brain is telling it to do every Monday evening.
Well, the only reason that I don't binge on working out, for example, is that we have at the beginning of every year, I join this like subgroup at Pure Barre called the Black Bar Challenge. So it's basically like you commit to working out so many times every month. If I didn't have that, and Scott's always like, so what do you get at the end? And I'm like, I think I get a pair of sticky socks and I get to sign my name on a bar. And he's like, that's it.
Awesome.
But I'm like, but it's really more like, if you give me a goal, I will crush it. I'm here for it. And quite frankly, I have other women in that class who I really enjoy being friends with and I enjoy seeing. And so knowing that we sort of keep each other accountable is really why I don't just like not work out for 2 weeks and then go back and then work out a ton. I try every week to hit like my goal is 4 days a week. If I hit 5, which I have to hit 5 this week to hit my monthly goal, I will do it. But more, more
So a
more
little
days.
bit of a binge this week. Just a little bit of a binge.
Just one day. Not terrible though. But yeah, it's good. It's good incentive.
I really confused my body on this past Thursday, because typically we go all out on Monday. I can barely walk today as we record this on Tuesday. Just barely able to walk. Every muscle group in my body is like, what happened? Like, why did we do that? Why did we jump? Why did we get off the ground? We are too large. Why did we get off the ground? But this past Thursday, my body was real confused, because the previous Monday, I binged and I played basketball for 2.5 hours, and I, just constantly running for 2.5 hours. And then Thursday, I decided to try again. And what we did is we went out on Thursday evening, even though it's still the evening, it was still bright and sunny and still over 95 degrees from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Another 2.5 hour evening, this time doing movements I haven't done in, I believe, almost exactly a decade. For the first time because we've been married 11 years. And the last time I did this was in our first year of marriage. My wife and I are playing in a softball league together this summer. We have never done sports together, which is strange, because and she's asked to like go play sports and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's really hard for me to like compete with, because it'd be me, her, and my children. Like, they can't guard me. I'm too good, right? So it doesn't sound very fun. But we all went out. The kids went and played, and we were out there. My body hasn't hit a softball bent down to catch a grounder, throw to first. My whole more muscle groups just completely thrown out of whack. But we had so much fun, but it was so hot. So I think I burned another 9,000 calories, like 1,000
sure.
by moving and 8,000 just by standing in the Texas heat. But 2 times last week I worked out. That's the most I've worked out in a week in years.
Well, I actually, good job, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm always thankful, like when I do a new workout, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know I had that muscle, or I didn't know that I could be sore in that place. But it almost feels good. Like I'm like, at least it doesn't feel good when you're super sore, but it does feel good knowing that you moved in a new way and that your body recognized it. I don't know. I'm always like, the only one that hurts is like, it's usually the tops of like my quads when I try to sit down. I'm like, ha, that's the only one that's really hard for me. Everything else I can adapt to, but it's the sitting down that just, you're like, I'm gonna need an assist here. So, but other
Yeah.
than that, I think it's good. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. We'll see how it goes. It's gonna be fun. It was my wife's first time ever playing like organized softball or baseball, so this is gonna be fun for us. We got a group of friends that we're gonna play together. It's in a league that runs through July. Just because we hate ourselves and want to go stand out in the sun for 3 hours in the hottest month of the year. But it's going to be fun. I've been enjoying the competition of like Monday Night Basketball, but this is going to be fun because it's like an actual league. So, but whenever we come back, we're going to keep talking about your parenting and maybe some of the things. Hopefully, as your kids are getting older. What was the word you used earlier? Their constituents were mad at you or whatever.
My constituents, yeah.
Hopefully, as they move out of your area, where what is it, like your district?
They get redistricted.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're gonna talk about some changes you've had as you're parenting your college kids. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We recently hit a big milestone on our YouTube channel in order to become a YouTube partner, which essentially is good for us in 2 ways. One, YouTube would share our videos with more people, so more people get to enjoy the content that you're enjoying right now. But also, it helps us to make a little bit of money. So if you want to help us out in a way with the big milestone, I didn't even say it. To become a YouTube partner, you need 4,000 watch hours in a year, and we just hit the 3,000 hour mark for the first time. So we're 75% of the way there. So thank you guys so much for enjoying our videos over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Forte Catholic. What we have going on over there is full-length episodes of this show every single week. We've got our Catholic Perspective series where we look at some of our favorite movies, video games, books, TV shows, and through a Catholic lens. So a lot of the pop shows, what everybody's talking about, we like to talk about those shows from a Catholic lens. We also have our Catholic Foundation series, which is like a systematic Catholic theology in 10 weeks, 10 videos. Father Mike's trying to do is doing catechism a year in 365 days. We're trying to do it in 10 videos. So if you are new to the faith, or if you want a refresher, myself, who is a theology grad school dropout, and another person who graduated from the school with a grad in theology, teach the courses, and people at the parish have been enjoying it. We hope that you do as well. We've also got music and talks and all sorts of stuff over there on youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Thank you guys for watching those videos, and we're almost there. You can help us get there by just going over and enjoying some of those videos. Please do. youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and that is still Kathryn Whitaker. We were talking about your parenting in the last segment a little bit as we set up this conversation for parenting. And we're going to be talking about your college kids, but we kind of have to address what just happened in between the break. You addressed one of your children, and I had to do a double take of like, what did you just call your child?
Well, I call her by her initials, which are ALG, but we shorten that to say algae.
And it's I was like looking at I was like, oh, what are we gonna talk about next? Oh, I was resetting my timer for the segment. And I was like, what did you it's exactly equal parts funny and equal parts weird, which makes me incredibly happy.
Well, when people don't flinch when we say that, we're like, then you must be part of the family. Other people are like, they just sort of give us this
so
look,
the
and we're
first
like,
segment
oh.
you said I'm not a friend, and now I'm not part of the family. I get it, Kathryn. I get what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay, well, I guess you just need to come over more often.
Okay. A simple, non-flowering, and typically aquatic plant of a large group that includes seaweeds and many single-celled forms.
Yeah, don't hate on the algae because the ocean wouldn't be able to be the ocean without the algae.
Exposure to high levels of blue-green algae and their toxins can cause diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, skin, eye, or throat irritation, and allergic
This is starting
reactions
to
or breathing difficulties.
this
Is
is
that
starting to sound like a medicine ad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Here's the 10 seconds of what it can help, and here's 50 seconds of all the things it can do bad
exactly.
for you. So
Exactly. That's
I
what
hope
sounds
that
like.
spending time with that daughter doesn't cause all of those adverse reactions.
No.
Anyway, that's not what we're talking about, but it just threw me off so much that I couldn't move forward without addressing it. But you just helped how many kids have you put or that are either in college or starting college this fall? How many college students are you a mom of?
I will have 3. So half of my children will be in that I'm gonna need to pause for a minute. So half of my children will be in college next year.
I mean, poor Scott. I mean, legit, like literally, but both figuratively and literally. Poor Scott.
I am gonna start crying at the beginning of August and not stop until the end because they have, staggering
No, that's not
drop-offs.
allowed for summer, Catherine. It's still summer.
Well, Lake Catherine will be done, and, I will I will be back to school, Catherine. Yeah, it's gonna be it's good it's so good. They are all at places that they love. They are all doing great things, so that's the cherry on top. It's just hard because when you let them go, you're not it's not like you're just dropping them off at summer camp or you're just going to a new grade. There's a lot more to it than that, and so I've mentioned this before, maybe not here, but I've mentioned it before that it's a simultaneous breaking and bursting of your heart at the same exact time, and it doesn't get easier. The all those parents that were like, "Oh, it's your 3rd, it's easier." I'm like, "You are such a liar." Because it's not the same kid, it's not the same they don't bring the same gifts and talents to your family, and it's a loss because the people at home it's a new dynamic at home, but it's also a gain because they're off doing what God intended for them to do in the world. And this was our job as parents was to raise them, give them the foundation that they needed, and then watch them go out into the world. I think of that song, go out, to all the world.
Wait,
So
keep
I like
going. I don't know
no,
what you're saying.
it's like go out to all the world. Don't make me sing. I can't sing. Anyway, um,
I've never
she's going
heard
out
that
into
song.
the I'll send it to you. I hate it. We sing it almost every day, and I hope my
I
pastors
hate
don't
it. We
listen to
sing it
this.
almost every day.
Oh
What is
my
wrong with you?
I hate that song. Um, I'm sure it's lovely. I just hate singing it at mass. Anyway, um, it's a great thing to send them out into the world to go do awesome things for the kingdom, but it's also hard. Reality check.
When you move them into their dorms, do you tell everybody in their dorms like the weird nicknames you called them, like tree root and algae and fungus?
I definitely do not tell the boys that because remember they're in the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M, and you don't want any distinguishing characteristic to make them stand out because that means that they will be doing a lot of push-ups after you leave. So,
Right.
it is really funny though. Our youngest daughter, she is 9, was talking one of my son's friends from college was here at the house a few weeks ago, and he's this big guy, works out all the time, and so the only people that she sees are guys with huge biceps that come to our house that go to
Oh, poor
A&M.
girl.
I know, it's terrible. But what someone asked her, "Hey, Gianna, do you wanna go to A&M?" And she immediately said, No, absolutely not." And I'm thinking, "What have we failed as parents?" And she looks at them with her hands on her hips, and she goes, "I don't like doing push-ups, so I'm not going to Texas A&M." Because she thinks everybody that goes to A&M and then when I told her, I said, "Hey, I didn't do push-ups when I went to A&M." "You didn't?" I said, "No, you can go to A&M and M and not have to do push-ups." So, it's cute that that's the thing that she thinks happens in college is that you have to do a lot of push-ups.
Give her like 3 more years and she'll be
I
like, "Oh, the
know.
boys have to do push-ups? I'm going to A&M." But
That's
y
where I will go.
see, you thought that you had failed as a parent, but then you realized that you didn't. But I think there is a little bit of failure in your parenting. For the first
Was there?
time, you are sending a child that is going to college not to Texas A&M. And I think there's a little bit of failure.
Well, you know what? So many people have asked us that, like, are you sad? Are you mad? And I just am like, so, um, I guess I don't know how to respond because it's an amazing program that she's going into. The
Where's
major
she
that she
going?
has,
Tell
she's going
everybody.
to, yeah, to the University of Houston. And she's a hospitality major, global hospitality leadership. And while A&M has kind of a degree, it's really more of a certificate. It would almost be
Ooh,
like,
see, you accidentally did drive-bys on me already twice today, calling me not part of the family or friends. My best friend went through that program at A&M, so you just did a drive-by on
hey,
him.
I was in that college that had that major, and my one of my bridesmaids was in that major. But it would be sort of like compare like curriculum wise of like comparing like 7-Eleven to Bucky's as far as like I have no doubt that getting that major at A&M is an amazing thing, but the experiences that she gets on the front end, in addition, like Houston runs their own hotel. It's on campus, the students run it. And it's a Hilton. I mean, it's an impressive. They have their classrooms and some of the ballrooms in the hotel. And so it's just a really impressive program. And in fact, I asked a professor the other day, I was like, so can I audit some of her classes? Like one of her classes is a wine and beverage appreciation class. That does not sound terrible. You have to be
Yeah,
21. But
yeah. I was about to say, isn't that what college is about anyway?
I think they forget the appreciation part.
Yeah, they
But
forget a lot.
this is true. Um, but we're really excited. I mean, I'm only having to move from maroon to red, so I feel like that's a pretty easy transition in the closet. And we had orientation, and it was weird, Taylor, because I went and like I didn't know all the shortcuts through the buildings. I didn't know like where the secret bathroom was that no one else uses. I didn't know like how orientation was going to go. I didn't know any of the traditions. Like I knew absolutely nothing. And it was such a weird, it almost made me feel like, oh, this is how other parents feel when they take their
Right.
kids to college. So,
I
but at
mean,
the
to
same
be
time,
honest, I don't think any other parents like, where's the secret bathroom? I must tell them where the secret bathroom is.
no, on game day, very important to know where the secret bathroom is because when 75,000 people are all trying to go to the same bathroom, if you know that, and I'm not even going to say where all the secret bathrooms are at A&M, that could be a whole other podcast episode. But
There's a tree here. There's a tree here.
for the guys, sure, the girls need a bathroom.
There's
So
a big tree over here. Lots of privacy.
it was just, it was different. But at the same time, I ended up running into 4 other moms. None of us knew each other. We all hit it off. We all, like, have a group text going now, and so we're
Oh, you went
all
to college.
I did, and I was the connector. I was like, "Okay, so I'm gonna need everyone's cell phone numbers. Tell me your name. What's your student's name? What's their major?" But it was really good because I left feeling not it didn't feel so foreign anymore, and it didn't feel so lonely, like, I felt like, "Man, she's really gonna thrive here," and it's only a quick like, I can go see her, and then I can head up on Highway 6 and see my other kid at A&M, and so it's the other kid that's going to Kentucky that's gonna be a little harder to get in that loop and still make it back for Carline. I don't think I can go to Kentucky and get back in time for 3rd grade pickup, so it's gonna be different.
I mean, I hear that algae thrives for many months on its own without sustenance, so you don't have to pick her up from school. It's fine.
She's gonna be fine. No, I mean, of all my children launching to college, I am the least concerned about her. I think the transition for her is gonna be the best. We're gonna miss her like crazy here.
You're speaking so positively of her and her experience that like it's coming off, at least to me, like it is shocking because all I've ever heard is how positive you are about A&M. So everything that I've heard you say positive, whether you meant it or not, sounded like you were bashing A&M. Like to the point where you had one sentence where you were like, I loved the 7-Eleven to Bucky's thing because essentially it's one of those quotes. I don't have you saying it on video, but essentially what you said was getting a degree from A&M is like getting a
No.
degree from 7-Eleven.
No, that is not no, that is not what I said. I'll make you like retract that.
I mean,
No, that's not what I said.
I'm just paraphrasing what you said. Uh,
Just paraphrasing incorrectly. Okay.
but one of the things that everyone loves about Texas A&M is its Catholic Student Center. Like it is the largest Catholic student center. It's been thriving. People are doing very well there in their faith. So I was kind of following along on your Instagram stories of like whenever you were doing this, whenever you went to college orientation. But y'all went over to the Catholic Center at
We did.
Houston. And I didn't realize that they even had one. So what's
It's
going on
liter
over there?
it's literally, I mean, steps away from where she's living and where she'll be going to class. I mean, it is right across the street from campus. It's even closer to campus than St. Mary's is, like, in relation to A&M, so it's really close. It's tiny. I mean, it would be like if people know, like, Baylor or Texas State, like, it's a small program at a university. But I think the thing that I really was drawn to, now keep in mind, when I was at A&M, I was not Catholic, so I maybe went to St. Mary's 4 times, 3 times, like, very much on the periphery, and I wasn't even Catholic. So my involvement with St. Mary's was negligible. I can't claim they can't claim me, and I can't claim them. But at U of H, it's so small that they all know you. So, like, we met with the campus minister, and she was already like, "Oh, we have this student who's in this college. Let's, like, get you connected." And I don't she's not gonna get lost there. And, I'm gonna start crying because when we left, I looked at her and I said, "I just wanted to know that there was a place that you were gonna belong." And that, I think, of all the things that we did during orientation, that brought me the most peace, was like, "Okay, there is a campus minister here, and there's a group of students that are gonna make sure that my kid doesn't fall through the cracks." And so, in that respect, I think that campus ministry programs, whether they are big, small, or somewhere in between, serve a different student population, and I think she's gonna really love it there. I already love it, and, I think it's gonna be a great place.
I'm excited for it because like that's what my campus ministry experience was more like in where I went to undergrad. It's small. I mean, there's school. It like I don't understand how people go to A&M. Like as good as like its reputation is, and
It's
as good as
huge.
as good as St. Mary's is, like it wouldn't have been for me. Like I don't like being, like I want to be somewhere where we all know each other, right? To the whole thing about love, to to know and to be known, right? And I'm sure that happens in big places, but it's like, uh, I loved being at a small campus with a small campus ministry where we all knew each other. Like it felt like high school. I mean, like when you go to I went to a high school with 2,500 people, and it's like I probably knew 1,750 of them, like because like we were just a small, tight knit community. And then I go to college, and it's 3 to 5,000 people on campus at any given time. It's like after 4 years and being as extrovert as I am, like I ended up getting to know a lot of people. I was ran in campus ministry circles. I ran in the athletic circles. Literally ran in the athletic circles. That was a funny track joke for me that I didn't even realize that I meant to make. But uh, clubs and classes and like all this, like I liked that it was small. And like like you said, like there are the campus ministers are already making connections of like, hey, this person's similar. Like we were able to do that kind of stuff too, and I really enjoyed that kind of experience more than I personally would have enjoyed something like St. Mary's, which works for tens of thousands of people, but probably wouldn't have worked for me. So I'm glad that she found a place that's like the Bucky's instead of the 7-Eleven.
Well, in this case, like, of course, the priest knows every kid, but what I found interesting is we walked in and I was like, "So, where do you guys do mass?" And she's like, "Here." Like, this is our multipurpose space, and so during the week, we have, like, tables in the kids' study, and then when it's time for mass, everything moves and we pull out the chairs, and I was like, so it's almost as if the place where you go to pray, to hang out, to study, and to be present with Jesus is exactly the same space. Like, it's
Yeah.
so integrated, which is what we hope for in our real lives, that all of those things are integrated, but you could tangibly see it there. And they have this little tiny kitchen off the side, and where they cook and everything. And I just thought, man, what I wouldn't have given to have had a place that felt really like my living room, that I could have gone to, and it didn't feel so big that I was going to walk in and maybe someone might notice that I'm there, but more times than not, they're just gonna walk past and not really see me. That's not gonna happen there. And the fact that it is adjacent to the student center and catty corner from the welcome center. is awesome. So it's a big, huge sign. You can't miss it. And I'm grateful that our bishops and our cardinals think to put really great priests in campus ministry programs because they foster this real beauty of service and of love. And I think that she's going to thrive. So how can I be sad about that? I mean, I can't.
Yeah, no crying allowed.
Nope, not yet. Not until August.
You had an interesting experience moving her in because your oldest two that you have moved in, they've both been in the Corps, they've both been at A&M. So this is a huge breakaway from tradition for you, not just in school, but also in gender. Like you moved in 2 boys and then you moved in 1 girl for the first time, and you were telling me over the phone that was a little bit of a different experience.
Yeah, moving boys in, and I'll use move in really loosely. I mean, basically us moving in was giving them a duffel bag and a foot locker with a packing list. It was like they were going to camp. Like the military was like, these are the things that you have to pack, like 10 t-shirts, 10 pairs of underwear, 7 socks, whatever. And we just put it in and then we dropped it off and gave it to these 19-year-old boys who were sophomores. And we were like, buena suerte. And they moved in, and as freshmen, they can't have anything on the walls. There's no like, oh, I wonder who my roommate's going to be. No, it's alphabetical. It's just whatever your last name is, and you're just going to have to get along. And you can't have anything out in your room anyway. Like they couldn't even have trash cans in their room. So the fact that Anna Laura goes through like finding a roommate, which was like Tinder for college roommates. It was like swap left, swap right, which that was weird. So she finds a college roommate. And then now that they
Is
found
it a
each
guy
other,
with big biceps?
unfortunately, no. The dorms are co-ed, but thankfully the suites are not. So at least her suite mates will all be female. But she was like, yeah, so we've kind of been thinking about our color theme and like we really want to go with like this kind of palette with like pops of color here. And I just kept thinking, first of all, I've been dreaming about this day my whole life to help someone plan a college dorm room because I was that person, like everything coordinated and it was so much fun. But we have a whole Pinterest board. We have like an Amazon wish list. Like I have all these things. With the boys, I was like, here's the packing list. Go buy it, pack your trunk. We're done. Like it took us 10 minutes. This is going to take us all summer. So a little bit different.
and you enjoy the second version better.
Well, I don't think I appreciated the boys as much until now, like how easy move-in was. I think the planning process is more fun with her, but I think I'm really going to be missing the move-in, which was basically hand it to 2 19-year-old boys and they take it up to the room. There's not going to be. We even joked that we should drive to College Station and pick up our son and all of his buddies and drive them back to Houston and just be like, everyone take a box and we'd move in basically the same amount of time. But I think I'm gonna have to bribe them pretty hard to make that happen.
This is what
We'll
a
see.
dorm could look like. Now go back to your box with a bed in it, you losers.
But the boys don't even care. They're like, "That's so much work. Why would I even wanna do that?" And the girls are like, "I need, like rugs and, string lights and candles," and even though you can't have candles in a dorm room, fire hazard, but, all these things that I'm learning. It's a thing. I never thought I would Google dorm room decor and then start making lists, but here we are.
This is bringing back memories for me living in the dorm in college. And it's one, you know how you sometimes can repress bad memories? I have repressed the dorm quite a bit, especially the first,
Was it bad?
the first few months were bad, and then it got really good. And I'll tell you how. The first few weeks, I got what I was told was the largest academic scholarship to the school, like the top tier. Like they have like it's like this is very funny that I'm talking about how smart I am and I can't think of the word, but it was like a graph that had like on the right side was your SAT score and then on the top was your GPA in high school, and you just like matched it up. And I was on like the top tier where I got the most, like that's how I was able to afford to go to a private Catholic school. And then I get this roommate who is like, you could tell pretty instantly is one of those like very smart kids that has no idea how to have a conversation or like do anything social. That's who they put me in the dorm with. And I found out very quickly that, yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I mean that in the best of ways. Like that must have been really hard for both of you.
I thought what you were saying was they put me in the room with me. So I thought what you were saying is I have no social skills. that was very funny. That was a great burn. But that lasted, I can't remember exactly, but it lasted something like 2 to 3 weeks because one, I found out that he had a full ride scholarship, which I didn't even know was possible. Like I was like, you showed me the axis. Like I thought there was the X and Y axis and that was it. But he got a full ride because he was apparently really smart. But also no social skills and conniving. Like if I sleep, like if it's too cold in my room, like I will legitimately get sick because I will breathe in the cold air and the cold air will dry out my throat and I will get sick. Like I'll get a cold if it is cold in the room while I'm sleeping. And I talked to him about this because, anytime you live with somebody else, there's going to be somebody that like if I like it at 72 and my wife likes it at 76, we're probably going to have it around 74, 75. This is some compromise, right? With roommates like I've had other roommates and we had some compromise. Well, what he did, thinking he was the smartest person ever, it was able to finagle. It was one of those like the temperature was like kind of like you see at church typically, like you pull it up and down, like the little plastic lever on the right side of it, right? Pull it up and down. He opened up while I wasn't there. I found out pretty quickly because he opened up the box and he had like made a little contraption that actually made it at like 65, but made it look like it was at 75. And I was like, I'm not an idiot. Like I found it and I confronted him on it.
Also, you can tell the difference in a
yes,
75
I'm not an idiot.
65.
Like, oh yeah, you got the full ride, but I'm not stupid, And I was so mad. I confronted him about it, and then he left, and he went and he left on his own. Like he was like, I'm not going to deal with this. I was like, hallelujah, this is great. So then I got another roommate who was like very quiet, kept to himself. Like it was really, really good, right? But there was still some things of like, we had different time. Like I was still running track at the time, so like we'd have to wake up at like 5:15, like you did every Tuesday. We had to wake up that time so like even though I'm a night owl, I was having to go to bed pretty early, and he was a night owl too. So like there was a little bit of conflict, but like at that point it's like normal roommate stuff, not like conniving, making scientific experiments to ruin my life,
Yeah, you expect there to be some conflict because that was even one of the questions on there, like because they had to fill out like a survey. What temperature? It's funny that you mentioned that. What temperature do you like your room? How neat are you? Like how often do you clean? And so that kind of stuff just takes away some of the big things, so that whenever you have normal conflict, that you can work through it. But we reminded her, we're like, y'all don't have to be best friends. You just have to learn how to get along. And you may end up being really good friends, but remember, you're not trying to find a lifelong friend here. You're just trying to find a roommate that you can get along with your first year in college. That's all we're trying to do here. So I can imagine. So with this quiet roommate, like because I wouldn't characterize you as quiet, Taylor.
No, I'm not. It worked out pretty well. Like we were able to compromise, especially because like I had just had this bad experience. I was like, is this what it is? Is this what having a roommate is? Because I never had a roommate. This was my first time having a roommate. Like I always had my own room growing up. It worked out. He got a girlfriend. I think they moved in together after at the end of the fall semester. So my best roommate was the spring semester. No one. It was great.
So you went through basically 3 roommates your freshman year.
And the last one was the best. And that's honestly who I roomed with the rest of college, because my parents bought me a condo and I went and moved to the condo and got away from it all. I won't talk about, I had some issues with my suite mates and the noises that I heard from them at a Catholic college, but that's a whole other thing. So,
not this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So, and unless Allison's on, just wants to throw nudist colonies out and for no reason. You were talking about decorating the room, right? And like, I'm not a person that typically decorates things. Like my parents and my sisters came along and helped me like move stuff in. It's like, but I was like, I think I put up a poster of some sports poster, and then like as long as I had my TV. Yeah.
When guys decorate, they put up like the college flag,
right,
and they're done. Every picture that I see of a mom who's posting their son moving in, it's whatever the university flag is, and that's it. That's how they decorate.
Mine was similar, but a little different. I was a Houston kid moving to San Antonio, and there's some sports rivalries there. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put up my school's stuff. I put up Houston Rockets and Houston Astros stuff and just called it a day. But similar.
But again, it's always the sports things. It's some
Right,
flag
100%.
or
Yeah.
some always like that is their decorating. Okay, that's it. Their
But a little
Pinterest board
different for
is
your
very
daughter, huh?
smaller. A little bit. We have like should we have like neon signs that are like you are amazing, or do we have like plug-in string lights? Do we so we had to get fortunately at project graduation one of the things that prizes that she won was a Keurig. So we're very excited. Even though
Nice.
it's not in the color palette of the room,
Oh, it's not allowed. Not
it
allowed.
is somehow we're going to be able to make it work. Because I was like, it
Put it in a
is a
dark
really
corner where
nice
no one can
gift.
see it.
Right. But it is definitely just this but at the same time, Taylor, I think the mom in me sort of miss that with my boys in the sense that, like, you want the place where your kids go for respite, when they go to, sleep, that it's this place of refuge that feels comfortable, that feels like home, and so I always felt bad. It didn't seem to bother my boys. I think it bothered me more than it did them, but they were going back to this, like, basically
Right?
dorm room prison with, no comfortable bed, nothing on the walls. They were fine. They thrived and they did just fine. And the older that they get, the more privileges that they earn and the more stuff they have in their rooms. But I think because she's going to a new place that we don't know as well, because she's a little bit further away from home, I'm really like fully invested in making this space really homey for her because if I can't be there, I at least want her to see how much we love her and some of the details of the room. So it matters to me.
That's got to be fun as a parent to like, you finally get to do what you kind of want to do with the third one.
I mean, that's pretty much the parenthood in a nutshell that you have to go with the ebb and flow of your kids and make compromises or maybe let them do things that you don't feel entirely comfortable with but you're like no but this is going to be good for them and then they thrive and then you settle in but
I'm glad you clarified that because I thought you meant that by the third kid, you'll have it down packed. So Felicity's going to do great in life. The first two kids, good luck.
no I think it's a shift of your heart. Like, I don't think that it's necessarily easier to send a 3rd kid to college, but I think your heart knows what's on the other side. Like, I've seen what it looks like to have a college graduate. I've seen what it looks like after they've been in the dorm for a year. I've seen them go through probably similar struggles while they adapted differently, but I know what can be on the other side. And so some of the fears that I had with our first one I still have some of those, but I also know what can be. So I find that I don't get as worked up as I used to. So it's not that I got used to it, it's just that I got wiser and you start to figure things out. So it's harder in the sense that it's a different kid, but it's not harder in other ways. Like I'm like, "Oh, like we've been to orientation. I know that we need to, file for the FAFSA. I know that we need to, do this and that, and I know what the timelines are, so I'm not freaking out over that kind of stuff." And instead, I find that we're focusing more on like, do you know where the wellness center is on campus? Do you know what your advisor's number is and how to get in touch with them if things go wrong? Like those are more important to me than some of the things I think that I worried about with my boys. So we're figuring it out. It's kinda like when you send another kid to kindergarten, you don't freak out as much because you know what it's gonna be like.
It's interesting you say that because one of the things, like, now that we have we have all three of our kids in school, but like my oldest is 10, so like we've only done a few things for the first time, right? So like I forget what it was. I think, ironically enough, I think it was when we were at the pool. I don't remember what made me think about it, but I was like, I started thinking about like when my oldest is going to be driving in five, he'll get his learner's permit in 5 years and driving in six. And he'll be going off to college or whatever, work or whatever in 8 years. Like it hit me the
Bam,
other day. And I don't know if it
you're over
was,
halfway.
yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't, it's wild. That's insane. He has lived more time in this house than he will continue to. That is
Yeah.
insane. Um, like, so I was thinking about both driving and college. And I think it was because you and I had talked about a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. I think that's why it was on my mind. So yeah, I think you're to blame for my little slight existential crisis the other day, just a
Sorry.
little bit. But I remember because I was thinking about like being a parent of leaving somebody at school, and like my only connection point was being a son of when my parents dropped me off at school. And I remembered that like my mom cried the whole way home. You know, it's 3.5 hour drive home, and my dad was like, "See ya, bye." Like, it is great. We didn't get you out of the house. You know, so that was really my only connection point. But I would imagine, just because of gender, it's different too. Like leaving
Oh,
somebody, uh,
100%.
like I remember my parents talking about how it was different leaving me just because I'm a large man. Like I expect, even at 18, I was a large man. Like I can take care of myself, right? But like my sisters are girls and smaller, and like it's like if I got into a sticky situation by myself, I could probably get myself out of it. Girls might be a little bit different. Does that am I crazy, or does that play a little bit of a role in the difference
Oh,
with
no,
your daughter?
I have legitimate concerns about sending a girl to college than I ever even thought about my boys. I've never thought twice about telling them, like, "Hey, when it's dark out, make sure you have a friend with you."
Hmm.
Well, yes, they should, but at the same time, my oldest is 6'4" and almost 200 pounds. Like, I am not worried about some 5'1" female
I
accosting
didn't
him.
I didn't realize he was that tall.
Oh, yeah, he's crazy tall.
Wow.
And so my daughter going, one, to a campus that I'm not as familiar with, but she's beautiful and trusting, and I'm like, "Remember, like, we keep saying, don't forget this, do this." So I think my concerns for her in college are very different than what I had for boys, and also, I mean, we're really close. She is the other mom in this household, and so l losing her, it sort of feels like we're losing her a little bit as she goes off and makes her place in the world. It is very different than it was with the boys, and I think that's probably part of why I'm gonna have so many tears, because we sort of have this, this year now that the 2 older boys were off in college, so it was basically a house full of girls. So we had 1 middle school son, but everyone else was girls, and, like, we became very close this year, and she and her sister are just 2 years apart. It's gonna be hard on all of us in very different ways, but yeah, I'm trying not to cry, but
Yeah, I was like this. I was like, I almost started crying. I was like, I'm sad for you.
but I know that it's time for our relationship to shift. You know, that she's been in the house, that she's had a lot of responsibility, but now it's time for her to just worry about her, to just be focused on, what does God need me to do in this major with these new friends that I have, and like so many, like the possibilities really are endless when they get to college, and like it's also really fun to be like, where are they gonna go? Like, what paths are they gonna pursue? And so you start to shift a little bit in your parenthood, and I say, like, you start out in the driver's seat, and then you slowly shift over to the passenger seat, and you just grab the wheel every once in a while, like when it needs, you need to align it just for a minute or keep them from hitting something. But for the most part, they move into the driver's seat, and it starts to shift your relationship with your kids. And it's really good because then you start to have these adult conversations, these adult interactions, which is what you raise your kids for. So while I do miss some of the simplicity of what it used to be like when all my kids were home, it's also really fun to see them do things that you never imagined that they might pursue, and that they really love them and that they are excelling at them. And then you look at your spouse and you're like, "Did we make that? But look
Right.
at what they're doing with it."
Right.
Like it's so gratifying to be like, "Okay, I think maybe," and 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 we didn't do it perfectly, we still aren't doing it perfectly, we're making plenty of mistakes and asking for lots of forgiveness, but to know that the foundation was, intentionally poured, and then now they get to go build whatever it is that they wanna build on top of it, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, while your A&M degree might be from 7-Eleven, your parenting's from Bucky's. So I mean, you're doing pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, that's one of the things that I was thinking about. Like I was like, what is the answer to this? Like I haven't experienced it. I haven't gone through it. But when I was like, why does it scare me for my kids to start driving and for my kids to go off and when I turn 18, right? And it's like it's because of what you mentioned about the I can't take the driver's seat anymore, right? I trust myself quite a bit. I think whether other people think so or not, I pretty consistently think I'm doing the right thing in the situation. Other people can disagree with me, but I'm pretty confident in myself. So having to give up power and having to give up, it's like I am now trusting the other person. I'd be trusting my kid. I'd be entrusting them to God because I can't be there to protect them, so He needs to. But then it's also like the trusting that like is you know, it was one of those weird things. I was looking back of my kids at 18. It's like retroactively trusting my parenting over the last 18 years, meaning stepping out of that retroactive, being like, I have 8 years left to like get them to a point where I can trust the parenting that I gave them, so that I can just be like, okay, go to your either for Chris, his non-decorated dorm at all, or for my daughters, their very decorated dorm. So go off and wait, what was your song? Sing your song again.
Go out to all the world. I'm not even going to sing it now. Well, but it's also a couple of things. It's one, recognizing that all the little things that you think don't matter do. I wish that I had really believed someone when they told me, hey, that 4 times that you sat on the couch this week and read to your kid, it matters. I know it doesn't feel like it matters in the moment, or that it doesn't matter a lot, but like you add all that stuff over time and it matters. So that's the first thing. And then secondly is that God loves your kids infinitely more than you do. So to trust your kids into the care of God, there really is no better person to entrust their care to. That if I have loved them all the way to the college dorm room, that he's gonna pick it up from there and make it even more magnificent, because he desires even more for them and he sees more for them than I can as their mom. And I think, quite frankly, Taylor, through all the things that we've done, that's the one thing that's brought me the most consolation, is knowing that while my daily interaction with you is shifting and changing, this person who allowed you to be has always been present, and now they were even more present that you are no longer in my care. And I think it's what brings me peace.
You're in a really good place about this. You keep saying you're going to cry, but I think you're giving incredible advice to both yourself and other people who are in this scenario of bringing their kids off to school. So it's one of those things. It's interesting. Like when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, this is something that we should talk about, because I haven't done this, but I like people who listen to the show, who I like, they follow me on social media, I follow them. It's like they're in the same boat. Like there are people that are dropping their kids off either for the first time, second time, third time, whatever. And I was like, that's something that I haven't experienced and I was terrified about, but I'm less terrified about now that I've heard that you've done it 2.5 times. You're almost done
2.5 times.
with number
Well,
3.
and the problem is sometimes we look at our season and compare it to someone else's. Like I have moms who are like, they have 4 kids under the age of 6, and they're like, I can't imagine that. And I'm like, you shouldn't. You should not imagining right now still changing diapers, sending your kids to college. Don't, take the joy away from the season that you're in. Don't do that to yourself. It would be like me saying, I don't know what it's going to be like to have like grandkids and all that. Like, I'm not there yet. So like, let's just be here. And so like, I always remind people like, just stay here, right in this moment. And then, God will give you whatever it is that you need in the next one. But don't try to compare your season to somebody else's, because you'll just end up in a closet crying your eyes out. You don't need to be doing that today on a beautiful June day. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, go cry at the lake. It's way better. Way
Hey,
better.
it
for you.
is. It's so much more fun. As you're listening to Jimmy Buffett on the jet ski. Come on now. It's way more fun that way.
Is Jimmy Buffett on the jet ski, or am I?
Jimmy Buffett's playing on it. We have like a speaker, and so we can connect our phones and listen to the music. It's pretty great. Oh my gosh. Lake Catherine's so much fun. I get to see her in a few weeks.
I get to
So
see it in a few
excited.
weeks. We'll close with this. Speaking of a few weeks from now, in a few weeks, you'll be moving your kids in to their respective dorms, and
Yeah.
I just thought of like it's the greatest connection ever. Also, in a few weeks, there are these 2 movies coming out the same weekend. Have you heard about this? This like very weird 2 movies coming, actually 3 movies coming out on the same weekend, 3 summer blockbusters, and they were like, we're not gonna spread out over the summer. We're gonna all come out on the same weekend. Well, if you haven't, there are 2 movies. One is called Oppenheimer, which is about the military and the making of the atomic bomb during World War II. Einstein, all those people, right? Your boys are military, like they're military trained. They're cadets in the Corps of Cadets at A&M. So you'll be moving them in, and Oppenheimer's coming out. You'll also be moving your daughter in, which y'all have Pinterest boards for her dorm, a little bit different experience. The Barbie movie is coming out the same weekend.
Super appropriate, yeah.
So I think whenever you're moving your kids in, you should go see Oppenheimer with your boys at College Station, and then go see the Barbie movie after you're done moving your daughter in Houston.
Yeah, but what movie do we see for our kid that we're moving into in Kentucky? Like, what movie do you go see then?
I know. I have. It's the third movie that's coming out that weekend. The next Mission Impossible, because you said it's impossible for you to drive to Kentucky and Texas and be back for Carline. It sounds like it's impossible,
so
but if Tom Cruise can do it, you can too.
Wow, you're like my college sensei. This is so good. I totally forgot that movie was coming because Scott's just excited because now that we have a kid in Kentucky, he's like, but it's on the Bourbon Trail.
Oh,
and I'm like,
beautiful.
But also you have a kid going to school in that state. So it's win-win for everyone.
You can do the A&M and Houston. I think Scott will take the sacrifice of driving to Kentucky.
He was like, I'll go to Kentucky. I was like, will you? You're such a giver. It's so great. So yeah, we'll figure out a way to make it work.
It's not drinking and driving. It's driving to drinking. Very different, officer. Very different. Well,
very funny.
This has been great. I mean, you said that you're looking forward to Lit Kathryn, but I like whatever Kathryn this is, work Kathryn / a little bit stressed / a little bit still sore from her Tuesday workout. This is one of my favorite Kathryns I've ever done a show with. So this was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you'll be back in a month. Even though you're traveling quite a bit and moving people in, you'll still be back next month. I'll be back in a week. See ya. Thank you guys for watching and listening to today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed it. We really enjoyed recording this episode. We had a great day. We both came into this episode feeling okay, and I think we both left feeling a little bit better. If you did enjoy it, please hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Share it with a friend. We appreciate all of that, all of your support. Thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you listened today, and for a lot of you guys that you listen every week. We just really appreciate the love and the support. We will see you again soon. Bye.